Willa of the Wood, Chapter 7. When Willa opened her eyes again, she was still clinging to Luthien's back. She wasn't sure where they were or how much time had passed, other than that the sun was rising in the eastern sky and the blood was still seeping from her aching body. The wolves of the pack had come back together with her and Luthien on a rocky prominence that rose up from the surrounding terrain. All the wolves were looking the same direction. Wincing from the pain, Willa slowly lifted her head. The wolves gazed out across a sweeping view of the mountains, the long blue ranges cascading one layer after another into the distance, the wispy white clouds hanging low in the valleys, with the dark peaks and ridges rising among them. She knew that the wolves of a pack far from their den didn't just stare off into the distance for no reason. When wolves were far from home, they acted with purpose. They ran with purpose, tracked with purpose, and now they waited with purpose. They seemed to be watching for something in particular to happen, but Willa didn't know what it was. Then she saw an old black bear trundling down the slope of the nearby hill. All the wolves in the pack turned their head in unison and looked at the bear. This was what they had come for, but they did not move. They did not attack. They waited and they watched. The bear moved slowly, arduously, as if every step was painful to it as it made its way down the slope into the closest valley. It seemed gout-sick or wounded in some way. Were the wolves going to attack and kill the wounded bear? She wondered, for the wolf and the bear were natural enemies. But the wolves did not move forward. They stayed perfectly still and perfectly silent, watching the bear until it disappeared into the mist of the valley. Luthien seemed to take note of exactly where the wolf had gone out of sight. Then she looked at the wolves in the pack and moved in that direction. Clearly understanding her, the other wolves slunk in close behind and followed her in single file. As Willa glanced back, she could see that the two male wolves stayed closest to Luthien, right with her, strong and steady, their bodies hunched low, their muscles tight, and their eyes alert. The two pale-gazed young pups were slinking along behind them, wary and uncertain, one of them visibly shaking, his tail between his legs. Willa did not know what kind of danger they were all going into, but she could feel her body responding to theirs, the hair on her arms rising up, her ears tingling, her temples pounding. The wolves followed the trail of the sick bear into the white wall of thick fog and down into the valley. The colors of the forest faded into gray. As the rocks and trees around them disappeared into the mist, Willa felt Luthien's muscles tensing, ready for the fight.